Before Jim Carrey became Hollywood's rubber-faced king and J.Lo conquered music and movies, they were unknowns on a groundbreaking sketch show that featured decoy scripts to trick censors, a video game starring a clown character, and a comedian who deliberately got himself fired on live TV to escape another show. Here are the wildest secrets from behind the scenes of In Living Color. Fact 1. Jim Carrey's SNL audition started with witnessing a suicide attempt. Jim Carrey's journey to becoming one of the biggest comedy stars of the 1990s didn't start on In Living Color. It actually began with a traumatic experience outside the offices of Saturday Night Live that he took as a dark omen about his future in comedy. Before Carrey landed his breakthrough role on Keenen Ivory Wayans' groundbreaking sketch show, he auditioned for SNL not once, not twice, but 3 separate times, and each attempt ended in rejection. The first audition, however, was particularly disturbing and left a lasting impression on the young comedian who was desperately trying to break into mainstream American television. On the day of his initial SNL audition, Carrey arrived at 30 Rockefeller Plaza in New York City, the iconic building that houses the show's studios, only to encounter a chaotic scene unfolding right in front of him. A person was threatening to jump from the building, creating a tense and horrifying situation that emergency responders were trying to resolve. Carrey had to witness this suicide attempt moments before walking into what was supposed to be one of the most important meetings of his career. The young comedian, who was already nervous about the high-stakes audition, interpreted the incident as a terrible sign about what was to come. His instincts proved correct. Despite his incredible talent for physical comedy and impersonations, the SNL producers passed on him. Carrey would audition 2 more times over the following years, each time getting rejected, before finally finding his home on In Living Color in 1990, where his rubber-faced characters like Fire Marshal Bill and Vera DeMelo made him a household name and launched his film career. Fact 2. Damon Wayans deliberately got fired from SNL Live on Air. Damon Wayans didn't just quit Saturday Night Live, he orchestrated one of the most brazen acts of career self-sabotage in live television history by deliberately getting himself fired during a broadcast that millions of viewers were watching. In 1986, Damon was a featured player on SNL, but he was deeply frustrated with the lack of creative freedom and the limited roles he was being offered as one of the few black cast members on the show. Rather than quietly resign or fade into the background, Damon decided to make a statement that would force the show's producers to fire him immediately, freeing him from his contract in the most explosive way possible. During a live sketch, Damon was supposed to play a straight-laced police officer in a relatively conventional scene. Instead, he made the spontaneous decision to go completely off-script and transform his character into an over-the-top gay stereotype, complete with exaggerated mannerisms and a lisp that had nothing to do with what was written in the script. The decision was deliberate and calculated, designed to shock the producers and make it impossible for them to keep him on the show. The moment he walked off stage after the sketch ended, Damon was immediately confronted by the show's producers and fired on the spot exactly as he had planned. This bold move, while controversial, ultimately worked in Damon's favor. Getting fired from SNL freed him up to pursue other opportunities, and just 4 years later, he joined his brother Keenan's new sketch comedy series, In Living Color, where he had the creative freedom to develop iconic characters like Homie D. Clown and Blaine Edwards from the Men on film segments. Fact 3. Jennifer Lopez was rejected. Her first audition. Before Jennifer Lopez became one of the most successful entertainers in the world, conquering both music and film with equal dominance, she was just another dancer, hoping to make it onto a television show that could change her life. In 1990, when In Living Color first premiered on Fox, the show featured a dance troupe called the Fly Girls, who performed high-energy choreographed routines during musical performances and transitions between sketches. The original Fly Girls, which included future Dance Wars judge and Dancing with the Stars choreographer Carrie Ann Inaba, were responsible for selecting new members through rigorous auditions that tested technical skill, personality, and the ability to match the show's urban hip-hop aesthetic. When Jennifer Lopez first auditioned for the Fly Girls in 1990 during the show's inaugural season, she didn't make the cut. The existing dancers, including Inaba, evaluated all the hopefuls and ultimately decided that Lopez wasn't the right fit for the group at that time. For most aspiring performers, a rejection like this might have been the end of the road, a sign to give up and pursue something else. But Lopez refused to let one failed audition define her future in the entertainment industry. She came back the following year, better prepared and more determined than ever to prove that she belonged on that stage. During her second audition in 1991, Lopez impressed the Fly Girls and the show's producers with her improved technique, undeniable charisma, and fierce commitment to earning her spot. This time, she was accepted and became one of the most recognizable Fly Girls during seasons 3 and 4, appearing in episodes that aired from 1991 to 1993 before leaving to pursue acting full-time. Fact 4. The show had a MS-DOS video game for Homie D. Clown. In one of the strangest merchandising decisions of the early 1990s, Homie D. Clown, Damon Wayans' angry ex-convict clown character who refused to play by society's rules, became the star of his own computer video game released for MS-DOS personal computers. In 1993, a video game publisher called Capstone Software, which was known for producing low-budget games based on popular entertainment properties, released a point-and-click adventure game that featured Homie as the main playable character navigating through various challenges in New York City. The game's premise was surprisingly simple for such an aggressive and confrontational character. Players took control of Homie D. Clown and had to help him navigate the streets of New York City to reach a television studio before the end of the day, presumably to film an episode of In Living Color. Along the way, players encountered various obstacles, puzzles, and characters that required problem-solving skills to overcome. The game used the classic point-and-click adventure format that was popular during that era, similar to games like Leisure Suit Larry or Monkey Island, where players clicked on different parts of the screen to interact with objects and advance the story. What made this game particularly bizarre was the disconnect between Homie's aggressive anti-establishment personality on the television show and the relatively tame, family-friendly puzzle-solving gameplay that Capstone Software designed. On In Living Color, Homie was known for hitting people with his sock, declaring, "Homie, don't play that," whenever anyone tried to make him perform typical clown activities, and expressing his anger at being forced to entertain after serving prison time. The video game, however, couldn't really capture that edge and ended up being a forgotten curiosity. Fact 5. Writers used decoy sketches to trick Fox censors. The writers of In Living Color developed a brilliant and devious strategy to get their edgiest material past the Fox network censors, who were constantly trying to tone down the show's boundary-pushing comedy. Rather than fighting the censors head-on over every controversial joke or sketch, the writing team led by Keenan Ivory Wayans created elaborate decoy sketches that were designed to be so outrageous and offensive that the censors would focus all their attention on removing them, while completely overlooking the actually controversial material that the writers genuinely wanted to air. The decoy strategy worked like this. During the script submission process, the writers would intentionally include fake sketches that featured extremely controversial content, such as jokes about celebrities and compromising situations with gerbils or other similarly shocking scenarios that they knew would never make it to air. These sketches were never meant to be filmed or broadcast. They existed purely to occupy the censors' time and energy. The network's Standards and Practices Department would receive the script packet, immediately flag these decoy sketches as unacceptable, and spend hours writing detailed notes about why the material couldn't be used and demanding changes or complete removal. While the censors were busy being outraged by the fake sketches and congratulating themselves for protecting viewers from offensive content, they would often miss or gloss over the genuinely edgy material that the writers had cleverly embedded in other sketches throughout the episode. By the time the censors finished dealing with the obvious decoys, they had less time and energy to scrutinize the rest of the script with the same level of intensity, allowing the show's writers to sneak through jokes and social commentary that might have otherwise been cut. This clever misdirection allowed In Living Color to maintain its reputation as one of the most daring shows on television. Fact 6. The band Living Color sued over the show's logo. When In Living Color first premiered in April of 1990, the show featured an elaborate and visually striking logo that caught the attention of more than just television viewers. The rock band Living Color, spelled C-O-L-O-U-R in the British English style, noticed that the new Fox sketch comedy series had an incredibly similar name and, more importantly, a logo design that they believed infringed on their own established brand identity. The band, which had achieved mainstream success with their 1988 album Vivid and their hit single Cult of Personality, wasn't about to let a major television network potentially confuse audiences about the relationship between their music and this new comedy show. Living Color's legal team filed a lawsuit claiming that In Living Color had essentially stolen both their name and visual branding, arguing that the show's exotic and colorful logo design was too similar to the imagery and aesthetic that the band had been using for years. The lawsuit put pressure on Fox and Keenan Ivory Wayans to make immediate changes to avoid a prolonged legal battle that could cost the network significant money and potentially damage the show's reputation before it had a chance to build a loyal audience. Rather than fight the lawsuit in court and risk losing, Fox and the show's producers made the decision to completely abandon the elaborate logo that had appeared in the pilot episode and the early promotional materials. The exotic artistic logo design was replaced with something far more simple and legally safe, plain colored letters spelling out the show's name without any fancy graphics or artistic flourishes that could be considered similar to Living Color's branding. This stripped-down logo became the standard version that appeared in the opening credits for the rest of the show's 5-season run. Fact 7. Keenan hid episode tapes in office ceiling panels. Keenan Ivory Wayans became so furious with Fox's business practices regarding In Living Color that he resorted to literally hiding completed episodes in his office ceiling to prevent the network from accessing them. The conflict began when Fox started airing repeat episodes of the show without properly consulting with or compensating Keenan and the show's production company. While networks typically have the right to air reruns of shows they broadcast, Fox's aggressive repetition strategy was diluting the show's syndication value, which would directly impact how much money Keenan and the other profit participants could make when selling the show to other networks or platforms after it finished its original run on Fox. Syndication deals were where the real money in television production came from during the 1990s, and networks like Fox understood this reality very well. By flooding the market with reruns during the show's original run, Fox was making the episodes less valuable to syndication buyers, who typically wanted shows that viewers hadn't already seen dozens of times. Keenan recognized what Fox was doing and realized that his future earning potential from In Living Color was being systematically destroyed by the network's short-term profit strategy. His solution was as simple as it was bold. Keenan instructed his team to take the master tapes of fully edited episodes, the finished products that were ready to broadcast, and hide them in the ceiling panels above his office. By physically controlling the tapes, Keenan could prevent Fox from airing certain episodes as repeats until he was satisfied with the syndication arrangements and compensation structure. The ceiling panel hiding spot was apparently secure enough that Fox couldn't easily retrieve the tapes without Keenan's cooperation, giving him significant leverage in negotiations with the network executives. Fact 8. The show changed NFL halftime shows forever. In Living Color didn't just compete with the 1992 Super Bowl halftime show, it completely destroyed it in the ratings and forced the National Football League to permanently change how they approached halftime entertainment for the biggest sporting event of the year. On January 26, 1992, Fox made the bold and unprecedented decision to air a special live episode of In Living Color at the exact same time that CBS was broadcasting the halftime show of Super Bowl 26 between the Washington Redskins and the Buffalo Bills. This counter-programming strategy was designed to capture viewers who weren't particularly interested in watching traditional halftime entertainment and wanted something more exciting to watch during the break. The gamble paid off in spectacular fashion. According to Nielsen ratings data, between 20 and 25 million viewers switched away from CBS and the Super Bowl halftime show to watch In Living Color's special live episode on Fox. This represented an absolutely massive audience migration during what was supposed to be one of the most watched moments of the entire television year. The halftime show that year featured a performance by Gloria Estefan, along with a Winter Magic theme celebrating the upcoming 1992 Winter Olympics. But it couldn't compete with the Wayans family and their cast of comedians performing edgy sketches and featuring the Fly Girls dancing. The ratings disaster shocked the NFL and CBS executives, who realized that their traditional approach to halftime entertainment was no longer good enough to hold the modern television audience's attention. The very next year, for Super Bowl 27 in January of 1993, the NFL made a dramatic change by booking Michael Jackson, the biggest pop star in the world at the time, to headline the halftime show. Fact 9. Thomas Hayden, Church almost got cast, instead of Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey's casting on In Living Color, which launched him into superstardom and changed the trajectory of American comedy in the 1990s, almost didn't happen because of salary negotiations that dragged on long enough for the producers to seriously consider offering the role to another actor. Thomas Hayden Church, who would later become famous for his roles in the sitcom Wings and films like Sideways and Spider-Man 3, was being actively considered as a backup option while Keenan Ivory Wayans and Fox executives tried to work out a deal with Carrey that satisfied everyone's financial expectations. Carrey, who had been performing stand-up comedy and appearing in small television and film roles throughout the 1980s, knew that In Living Color represented a major opportunity to showcase his unique physical comedy skills and impersonation talents to a national audience. He wasn't willing to accept whatever initial offer the producers made, and instead pushed for better compensation that reflected both his confidence in his abilities and his understanding of how valuable he could be to the show's success. These negotiations took time to resolve, and during that period of uncertainty, the show's producers couldn't afford to wait indefinitely for Carrey to sign his contract. Thomas Hayden Church emerged as a serious alternative candidate who could potentially fill the same role if the negotiations with Carrey fell through completely. Church had similar sketch comedy skills and the improvisational abilities that the show needed from its cast members. The producers were apparently far enough along in discussions with Church that he came very close to getting the job that would ultimately make Jim Carrey one of the biggest movie stars of his generation, leading to roles in films like Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber. Fact 10. Fire Marshal Bill was born from a rejected dead kid sketch. Fire Marshal Bill, one of Jim Carrey's most iconic and disturbing characters from In Living Color, was created during the development process for a completely different sketch that the show's producers ultimately rejected as too dark and offensive to broadcast on network television. The original sketch that Carrey was developing involved a fictional organization called the Make-A-Death-Wish Foundation, which was obviously a twisted parody of the real Make-A-Wish Foundation that grants wishes to terminally ill children. In Carrey's rejected sketch, the foundation would grant wishes for children who had already died, attempting to fulfill their dreams posthumously in increasingly absurd and impossible ways. During the creative process of developing this morbid sketch concept, Carrey was experimenting with different character voices, facial expressions, and physical mannerisms to find the right comedic tone for this character who would be explaining how the Death Wish Foundation operated. One of the facial expressions he developed involved contorting his face in a specific way, creating a disturbing and asymmetrical look that was simultaneously funny and unsettling. He pushed his lips to one side, squinted his eyes unevenly, and created this exaggerated grimace that made him look like someone who had been severely injured or disfigured. When the producers rejected the Death Wish Foundation sketch as too offensive, Carrey didn't want to waste the bizarre facial expression he had developed, so he started thinking about what kind of character would naturally have a face like that. He eventually landed on the idea of a safety instructor who had been horribly injured and disfigured from all the safety demonstrations and accidents he had experienced throughout his career. Someone who could warn people about fire hazards while looking like a living example of why you should follow safety protocols. Fact 11. The Bolt 45 sketch accidentally aired and was banned forever. One of the most controversial sketches in Living Color's history wasn't supposed to air at all, but due to a catastrophic mistake in the control room, it was broadcast to millions of viewers on May 5, 1990, and has been permanently banned from all reruns, DVD releases, and streaming versions of the show ever since. The sketch, titled Bolt 45, was a parody of Billy D. Williams' iconic Colt 45 malt liquor commercials, where the smooth-talking actor would convince viewers to drink the beer by associating it with sophistication and romance. In Living Color's version, however, took the parody in a much darker direction by implying that the malt liquor was being used to facilitate date rape. The show's writers and producers had created the Bolt 45 sketch and filmed it with the cast, but during the editing and review process, they made the decision that the material was too controversial and potentially harmful to broadcast on network television. The sketch was supposed to be completely cut from the episode before it aired, with different content inserted in its place. However, someone in the production or broadcast chain made a critical error and sent the wrong version of the episode tape to Fox for broadcast. Instead of airing the edited version without the Bolt 45 sketch, the network accidentally aired the unedited version that still contained the banned material. Once the sketch aired to the national audience, Fox and the show's producers were immediately confronted with the backlash and realized the severity of the mistake. The network and Keenen Ivory Wayans made the decision to permanently ban the Bolt 45 sketch from ever being shown again in any format. When In Living Color eventually came to DVD and later to streaming platforms, that particular sketch was removed from the May 5, 1990 episode. Fact 12. Mike Tyson confronted Keenen about his impersonation. During the first season of In Living Color, Keenen Ivory Wayans performed an impersonation of heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson that apparently didn't sit well with the famously intimidating fighter. In the pilot episode, Keenen appeared in a Love Connection parody sketch where he portrayed Tyson using an exaggerated high-pitched voice that was meant to be comedic but came across as mocking the boxer's real speaking voice, which was noticeably higher than what many people expected from someone with Tyson's physically imposing presence and reputation for brutal knockouts in the ring. According to reports from people involved with the show, Mike Tyson allegedly confronted Keenen Ivory Wayans about the impersonation during Season 1, expressing his displeasure with how he was being portrayed on national television. For someone in Keenan's position, being confronted by Mike Tyson, who was at the peak of his boxing career and fame in 1990 and had a well-documented history of aggressive behavior both inside and outside the ring, must have been an intimidating experience regardless of how the actual conversation went down. The specific details of what was said during this confrontation have never been fully disclosed publicly, and different people involved with the show have offered slightly different versions of how serious or threatening the encounter actually was. Whatever happened during that initial confrontation, the situation apparently resolved itself relatively quickly. Within a few months, Keenen and Mike Tyson made peace with each other, and the boxer even appeared as a guest on In Living Color later in the show's run, suggesting that any hard feelings about the impersonation had been worked out between them. Fact 13. Tupac's performance collapsed after backstage handcuffs incident. Tupac Shakur was scheduled to perform a solo closing number on In Living Color, but his appearance on the show was completely derailed by a backstage incident that resulted in the young rapper being arrested and placed in handcuffs on the night of taping. The details of exactly what happened backstage have never been fully confirmed by all parties involved, but according to various accounts from people connected to the show and Tupac's career, there was some kind of disagreement or confrontation that escalated to the point where law enforcement became involved and decided to arrest the rapper. Tupac, who was still early in his career and building his reputation as both a rapper and actor in the early 1990s, had been scheduled to perform one of his songs as the musical guest during the show's closing segment, which was typically one of the most prominent spots for musical performances on the series. The Fly Girls would dance, the audience would be energized, and the musical guest would get national exposure on one of Fox's most popular shows at the time. For an artist like Tupac, who was trying to reach a broader mainstream audience, an appearance on In Living Color represented a valuable opportunity. However, after the backstage incident led to his arrest, Tupac was obviously unable to perform his scheduled solo closing number. The show's producers had to scramble to figure out how to fill that time slot at the last minute, and Tupac's performance was completely scrapped from the episode. The exact nature of the disagreement that led to the arrest, who else was involved in the incident, and what the ultimate legal consequences were for Tupac remain unclear. Fact 14. David Alan Grier hid props to make Damon break character. David Alan Grier, who was one of the most versatile and professional actors in the In Living Color cast, developed a mischievous habit of deliberately sabotaging Damon Wayans during live tapings by hiding props and then surprising him with them at unexpected moments, specifically to try to make Damon crack up and break character on camera. Breaking character, where an actor laughs or steps out of their role during a performance, is generally considered unprofessional in most forms of acting, but in sketch comedy, it can create genuinely funny moments where the audience gets to see the performers enjoying themselves and struggling to maintain their composure. Grier's strategy was carefully calculated and required advanced planning. Before the taping would begin, he would deliberately hide props that were supposed to be used in sketches that he and Damon were performing together. These props might be simple objects like ridiculous wigs, oversized accessories, or any items that Grier knew would be funny if revealed at the wrong moment. During the rehearsals, Damon would expect these props to be in their normal locations and would prepare his performance accordingly, not knowing that Grier had secretly moved them or hidden them somewhere else. Then, during the actual live taping in front of the studio audience, Grier would suddenly produce the hidden props at moments when Damon wasn't expecting them, often during crucial parts of the sketch when Damon was supposed to be fully committed to his character. The element of surprise, combined with the absurdity of the props themselves, would frequently succeed in making Damon laugh, or at least struggle visibly to maintain his composure. These moments of near breaking or actual breaking became part of the show's charm. Fact 15. All 5 Wayans siblings were involved, plus a 6th. While most fans of In Living Color know that the show featured 5 members of the Wayans family as cast members, including creator and host Keenen Ivory Wayans, his brothers Damon, Sean, and Marlon, and their sister Kim, there was actually a 6th Wayans sibling working on the show who appeared regularly on camera but was never officially credited as a cast member. Dwayne Wayans, another brother in the large Wayans family, worked behind the scenes as a production assistant, helping with various logistical and technical aspects of creating the show. But he also frequently appeared as an uncredited extra in sketches whenever the writers needed additional people in the background or in small supporting roles. The Wayans family's involvement in Living Color represented a significant opportunity for multiple siblings to work together on a major network television show and showcase their collective comedic talents to a national audience. Keenen, as the creator, executive producer, and host, had the power to bring his family members onto the show and give them opportunities to develop their skills and build their own careers in entertainment. Damon was already an established comedian and actor who brought instant credibility to the cast, while Kim, Sean, and Marlon were younger and less experienced, but eager to prove themselves. Dwayne's role as both a production assistant and an uncredited extra gave him a unique position within the show's ecosystem. He could observe how television production worked from behind the scenes while also getting occasional on-camera experience, even if he wasn't getting the same level of attention or creative control that his siblings enjoyed as official cast members. His appearances in sketches were often brief and non-speaking, playing background characters like restaurant patrons, pedestrians, or members of crowds.